With that, let me introduce myself. First of all, my name is Brad Zdenek. Some of us have met, some of us have not. I'm the innovation strategist for the Nittany Ai Alliance. And tonight, essentially, I'm going to give you a bit of the information that you need in order to be able to number one, participate in the Nittany Ai Challenge, but more importantly, essentially kill it in the Nittany Ai Challenge, to succeed and to be able to make it to the end and really show off what you're capable of, and to be able to get all the benefits out of this program that we have. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the challenge, but before I get into any of that, I want to start where you should always start, which is with the question, why? So, and I am just there we go. Sorry, I was noticing that my audio was not working. Just look around. Why would you do this type of challenge? Why would you do this thing? And the response that I've got is just look around. We live in this amazing time here on Earth, but we also live in a time with significant and imposing challenges across the globe. We see regular and more drastic environmental impacts of our changing climate. I grew up in a town called Port Charlotte in Florida that just got decimated by an almost Category 5 hurricane. And my childhood home was actually knocked down by this hurricane. I lived there for almost 30 years and experienced one hurricane that whole time as a Category 1. Since I've left, they've been hit by 2 Category 4 plus hurricanes. So we're seeing these environmental impacts of our changing climate. We're seeing wildfires and weather events like we've never seen in our living memory. We're also seeing species being brought to extinction, or with efforts to protect them struggling to get a foothold in the face of minimal funding and minimal resources. And then just look at the last few years. We're faced with this global pandemic that has fundamentally altered the ways in which we interact and highlighting the cracks in our healthcare systems around the world. Add to that the larger questions of misinformation, science literacy, and trust that the pandemic has brought to the surface. All the while, and you probably feel this acutely, all the while we're still faced with the skyrocketing cost of education, the crushing weight of student debt on individuals and the economy. But while there are all these challenges in the world, and that was a real bummer, all the things I just talked about, what might it mean if we're entering into a time when we can begin seeing the world in an entirely new way? How might we be able to see the problems I mentioned in a new light, opening up our creative minds to new possibilities? What if I told you that the boundaries of what is possible were no longer where they used to be? That what we saw set in stone just a few years ago could now be brought to life and open up for new possibilities. That you could be a part of building the tools to address the world's challenges and to guide us to a better future. To find ways to put out the literal and figurative fires that we see everywhere around us. What could you accomplish? I start with these images that you saw because they're striking. They leave us in awe. But the potential power of artificial intelligence goes way beyond the flashy, and it can help you to reinvent what you do and how you do it. Opening new possibilities that, had been relegated just to our imaginations in the past. That is what AI is offering us, a new tool that we can use to accomplish things we never could do before. So, all that's well and good, but quite honestly, it's a bit world-changing and high-minded. I recognize that. So let's bring it down to the ground and ask the questions of ourselves. What can AI do for us, or what can AI do for you specifically? First of all, if you're in the tech field, and I know a couple of you are, if you're in a tech field, the job prospects for someone with AI-related skills are excellent right now. According to a 2019 analysis, just a few years ago, there were more than 5 times as many job opportunities in the AI space than candidates with those skills. That's the type of environment that leads to higher wages and competition for your skills, competition to hire you. But even outside the tech space, there's disruption from AI. It's estimated that 14% of the global workforce, almost 375 million people, will need to retrain in the next 10 years because of AI-led disruption. And while I'm not a doom and gloom kind of guy, I try to see the glass as half full. It is quite clear that there's going to be a massive shift in many of our industries, with roughly 85 million jobs shifting or disappearing in the next 4 years alone. The bright spot of all this is that you are uniquely positioned to take advantage of this disruption. The individuals being sought in this new job market are those that have a mix of technical understanding and experience in finding ways to apply that technology. Think about that. The experience in finding ways to apply that new technology. Please note, I'm not saying that everyone needs to be a programmer or a data scientist, not by any stretch of the imagination. What will be necessary would be those people who have a mix of skills with experience in applying AI within their domains or the places that they're passionate and interested in. You know, you often hear these doomsday predictions of, how AI is going to take away our jobs and replace us. And while there's no denying that AI is going to disrupt the way we do our work, I think this slide does better represents that future. AI is not going to replace our roles, but a person or organization who uses AI will likely replace one who does not. So all that leads to this, to what we're actually talking about today. Hopefully what I've been able to do so far is to kind of give you a little glimpse into the ways in which AI can open up new possibilities for you, to give you a new tool to use in building your future. But the first step is figuring out where AI can help you. It's a tool. But like any tool, it's got to be used in the proper way. We wouldn't use a screwdriver to drive a nail, but where do you start with AI? Finding the answer to that is what this Nittany AI challenge thing is all about. It's about giving you that experience, both internally to develop your skills and also on paper, on your resume and CV and LinkedIn to show that you are capable of doing these things. So the Nittany AI challenge, as you may or may not know, I'm not certain where you might have heard about the challenge. I'm not certain what knowledge you're coming in with. So to set a level playing field for all of us, let me describe it really quickly. The Nittany AI challenge is a program that I have the honor of having created and running here at Penn State. And it offers $50,000 in awards to student teams, both graduate and undergraduate, that develop solutions to the world's big problems through the application of AI. Just to make things a little bit more defined and make it easier to get your head around, we identify these 4 pillars you see on this slide. These 4 pillars that your solution should fit in. The pillars are health, education, environment, and humanitarianism. And those are really big buckets. And essentially, when you boil it down, if your solution improves the earth or the people or animals in it, it fits into what we're looking for. You could also look into the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. I don't know if you've ever heard of those, but if you look up UN SDGs, those are what our pillars are based on. And those can give a bit more detail and might even be able to provide some inspiration for you for projects. So I also kind of want to give you a sense of what do projects look like here. So what might a project in any one of these pillars look like? Start with one that is recent for us. So one of the great struggles in much of the developing world is access to quality healthcare. Particularly in the developing world, this new technology is being leveraged to essentially identify diabetes-related vision impairment, allowing the use of standard smartphone camera by local medical staff and sometimes even untrained individuals to catch diabetic retinopathy early before the damage becomes irreversible, before individuals lose their sight. Very often it is a disease that can be stalled or stopped, or there can be interventions if it's caught early enough. But the problem is, if you have to travel 200 miles to healthcare, it is probably not going to be caught early. It's only going to be caught once you start losing vision. So this is exactly what one of our teams this past year took on. The iLens team, if any of you were able to come to our AI for Good Expo that we held back in September, you saw this team. They won $15,000 at the final to add to the $2,000 they had already won, totaling up to $17,000 that this team of 5 had won throughout the 2022 challenge. Another team from a couple years back was a team called Nian Sapo. Nian Sapo was a brainchild of the founder of this team, and Edward in the front left there. And he had noticed that the exposure to English language that he had gained early in his life gave him significant advantages. And he wanted to be able to pay that forward to those that were coming from his home country. And so what he did was he assembled a team, and that team created an app that was designed to expand English language literacy in areas with limited resources and very high student-teacher ratios. Basically, it used AI to help a single teacher administer more formative assessments and increase the number of students that they could teach in English language learning environments. And Edward saw this as the key to student success and social mobility. So not only did this team end up winning, I want to say that they won $19,000 all told in the challenge. They not only did that, but more importantly, they ended up being able to launch their application in Kenya. And they were able to use their application to help hundreds and hundreds of students, and there are teachers still using it now. Again, these are students that were at the time, I think most of them were juniors. I think they had one senior and one sophomore on their team. So these were your peers. In fact, Edward now has graduated and come back for graduate school. So he is still here at the university, but in a graduate program since he has moved on. The following year, 2 years later, in 2021, we had these two teams. On the left there is AI-powered recycling, and on the right is a team called Nittany Ai. To kind of give you an example of what these teams did, AI-powered recycling, also known as APR, developed the software and the hardware solution that could help identify recyclable materials and properly sort them in the appropriate bins. You all have been in the hub or have been someplace on campus where you've got all those bins, each one labeled for what's supposed to go into the bin. And I don't know if you do the same thing I do, but I stand there with my tray and I try to figure out where each one of them is going to go, especially the plastic confuses me. I don't know which one goes into which. And it takes me. What this team did was they created a bot that you could throw your tray on. It would use cameras to identify what recyclable materials were on it, and then it would automatically sort those materials into the appropriate bins for you, reducing recycling contamination that costs Penn State millions of dollars every single year, and very often prevents things from even being recycled. Nittany Ai, over on the right, they focused on the development of a computer vision application that could identify and track insects in a non-lethal trap. The focus was on measuring insect biodiversity in an area without needing to kill and meticulously sort insects like entomologists currently have to do. Both of these teams are also very good examples, and they both were diverse teams with multiple skill sets on them, not all of them being computer scientists or data scientists or developers. The Nittany Ai team in particular was led by an entomologist, had a graphic design major on the team, a communications major on the team, and that kind of diversity of skills on their team is really what launched them to success. And you can see, for those efforts, they ended up winning $15,000. The APR team over on the left was a younger team, mostly made up of sophomores and juniors at the time, mostly sophomores, and obviously did extremely well within the challenge as well, winning $10,000. Moving into this year, and now that we've kind of seen what can be done, I want to cover kind of how it's done and just really quickly give you a couple of the key dates. So first and most importantly, the 2023's challenge, its first due date, And this is one you should have on your calendar. You should have it up on your whiteboard in your dorm room and highlighted January 25th by midnight. January 25th, 2023 is when you will have to provide to me a basic outline of your idea. And it's 4 parts, and it's intended to be super simple and straightforward. 4 parts. What's the problem that you're addressing and why is it important? 2, what would your solution look like? 3, who's on your team? And 4, how does AI fit into your solution? Each one of those sections is maximum 300 words. And what we'll do is after you submit those ideas, we will select 20 of those ideas and give each one of those teams $500 and say, fantastic work. Now, go ahead and build that into a prototype. Now, one thing I should mention is you can submit more than one idea. I don't necessarily encourage it. We'll get into this in a minute when I'm talking tips and tricks, but you can submit more than one idea if you would like. Generally, we will not fund more than one idea from the same team, just because it would be very difficult for you to develop 2 prototypes or 3 prototypes. So if you are in the selection process, we would pick one of your 2 ideas, whichever one we think is the best, or one of your 3 ideas or whatever. But essentially, once we pick your team and we give you that $500, now we will start giving you supports and help in building a prototype. Okay. We help by connecting you with technical and other resources, including resources, credits, and help from our partners at Google, Amazon, IBM, Microsoft, Dataiku, and a few other companies that we work with. And then essentially what you're going to do is you're going to build a prototype of that original idea that you have, and you're going to submit a video demo of that to us by March 15th. We will then have a panel of industry reviewers select 10 teams, and each team will receive $1,500 and support in building a functional, minimal viable product of that idea. Then those 10 teams will submit their MVPs to me for internal review, and then hopefully all of them will be invited to pitch at our AI for Good Expo on September 7th of 2023. So you can see you've got a long period of time for development in there. The deadlines give you a little bit of breathing room, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of stuff that you need to do. And very often you have other things going on like internships and the like, and usually teams are able to work around those limitations. So while the first due date is January 25th, and that may seem like way off in the future, it is phenomenal that you are here at the very first webinar we're running for the 2023 challenge, because it means that you're on top of things and you are ahead of the game. You should be starting to work now in forming your team and solidifying your idea. If you're able to do it now, you are at a significant advantage compared to all of those other teams that are going to be coming in November and December and maybe even January. Now, finding a team is tough. And in fact, we've got a whole other webinar that I'll run that is focused on, how to build a great team, what one looks like. In fact, you can find last year's version of that online on our YouTube channel. And in fact, I'll put the link for that toward the end of this webinar. But you should be looking at trying to build a team to be able to solidify your idea, and you make certain you've got the right skill sets in place. To help with this, we created a tool, an online tool. And this is the first time I'm mentioning it this year, although I already saw that I think of 13 or 15 people are already in there and a couple ideas already. But it's what's called our Teams tool. And what it does, it allows you to build a profile and submit your idea for the challenge. The tool will look at the skills of the individuals as well as the skills that teams are looking for and automatically recommend them to each other, helping you to find or build a high-performing team of individuals with the skills necessary for success. So basically, you'll list your individual skills, and a person with an idea puts in there a list of skills that they need on their team. And if they match, the tool will send messages to each other, to the team lead and to you as an individual saying, hey, you might want to talk to one another. And then it allows you a method for being able to communicate to one another. So the whole idea is to be able to facilitate building a team so that you don't form a team simply out of the 3 people that are next to you right now, or that are taking the same classes as you are. Diversity of skill set is critical for success in the challenge. So to kind of wrap things up a little bit, I wanted to give you some tips and tricks that I've seen as correlated with success over the years. And once we're done with this, we'll open up for any Q&A, and I can be here as long as you want me to for Q&A. But a couple of the things that I like to impress upon everyone as they're getting started in the challenge. The first and most important thing is do not start with the technology. Okay. I know I started this presentation with the technology and the flashy images and the cool things that AI can visually do. But don't do that. Don't fall into that trap. You should always start with why. If you've never watched a TED Talk or read a book by a gentleman named Simon Sinek, I would highly recommend it to you. And it's called Starting with Why. But he does a phenomenal job of explaining exactly why it's so important to start with why and not with the what or the how, which is where many of us naturally fall into. Okay. So think beyond the tech. Don't start with a cool technology and figure out where it could be applied. Think about something you're passionate about, some impact you want to make, and then think about how AI might be able to disrupt that thing. You also have a huge advantage being at a university like Penn State. You are surrounded by phenomenal resources. Leverage student organizations in particular, like the Nittany Ai Student Society, the Google Developer Student Club, Nittany Data Labs, ACM, DevPSU, a ton of other student organizations at the university that can help you both in finding people to form a team and in helping you formulate your idea. What is it? Student Engineers for a Better World is a student organization here at University Park, as an example, that is focused in on how engineers can leverage their skills to improve the world. That should sound familiar. That's exactly what we're asking you to do within the challenge. So reach out to them, go to their meetings, reach out to their leadership, and see if you can leverage those clubs to help you in the challenge. You should also look at connecting with faculty and staff as mentors and advisors. You literally are surrounded by world experts in just about every subject you can imagine. Reach out to them. I know it might be scary at first, but I promise you, you'll get one of two things. You'll get no response whatsoever, or you will get I would love to talk to you about that. Because we here at the university, we spend our lives researching specific topics and areas, and we would love to pass on that passion for those ideas that we have and to see somebody make an impact in the domains that we care about. So reach out to them and talk to them. They will help. Also, you have time right now. Don't just talk to the subject matter experts. Find some potential end users if you can. If you are creating an application to help with scheduling students' lives, reach out to some students and talk to them about their ideas, not just you and your little circle of your team, but other people. If you want to create a solution related to insect biodiversity, go talk to some entomologists, go to the Arboretum here at University Park and talk to them about those things. Talk to some potential end users of your solution and get their feedback as well. That's going to be invaluable for you creating a solution that actually makes an impact. If you're having trouble coming up with inspiration, I created a document that has a ton of inspiration in the different pillars. It's a bit.ly link, bit.ly/challenge inspiration, capital C, capital I. Go there and you can find a document that has a ton of ideas to help get you started. And then, as I already mentioned, start recruiting your stellar team. nittanyai.psu/teams is the place that you can go to start finding other people, maybe finding ideas, and definitely finding your team. Finally, talk with me. I love doing this. I would love to sit down, grab a cup of coffee with you, and talk through the idea that you have. Okay. It is what I'm here for. It's one of the things that brings me the greatest pleasure is brainstorming and spitballing ideas with you all. So reach out to me and simply ask to have a meeting, and we can talk and see what we might be able to come up with. And I just put my email into the chat. Never hesitate to reach out to me, and I will help in any way I can. I can also help connect you up with resources here at the university if you're looking for subject matter experts or other people to talk to. So one other thing that we're doing, well, a number of other things that we're doing is a number of different supporting events beyond, this half-hour webinar to help you get started and help you to formulate and solidify your idea. The first one, if you've never been to this, I highly recommend that you see if you can come to this. If you're here at UP, it's nice and easy. It's held at the business building. If you're not here at UP, there are travel reimbursements to cover your travel into UP to be able to participate. But Hack PSU is the student hackathon here at Penn State. We will be hosting a challenge there, and we'll be doing some workshops there as well. And essentially, it's a great environment to force you to quick prototype a solution that can go right into the Nittany Ai challenge. It's held for a little over 24 hours, starting on Saturday, November 5th. It is just a fun and cool experience. Even if you're not doing anything related to the challenge, I still highly recommend it. Then on November 10th, I mentioned that we do a webinar on how to build a team. November 10th, I'm going to be holding that webinar, and the registration for it and the info is at the link down at the bottom there, nittanyai.psu.edu/events. And it is just another half-hour webinar where I'll have past teams join me to talk about their experience in finding teams and cobbling together the right skills for a successful team, to kind of give you those insights from past winners. Then on Tuesday, November 29th, we're going to be holding an ideation workshop where we're going to be bringing in lightning videos from subject matter experts to give you ideas about where AI could have its greatest impact on the world in those 4 pillars I mentioned. And then we'll be running a couple events to help you get your idea down on paper by the end of it. On November 30th, the next day, we're doing a face-to-face in-person team formation event with InnoBlue and the Nittany Ai Student Society, where we're going to do kind of a speed dating type environment to help you find team members and kind of form teams at that event. Then on January 18th, just before the proposal is due on the 25th, I'll be running a quick webinar on how to write a proposal to give you some tips and tricks specifically about the proposal that you need to submit. And then finally, on the 23rd, just before the submission date, the Nittany Ai Student Society, which is our student organization made up of past winners of the challenge, they're going to do proposal office hours, where you can either virtually or in person bring your proposal to them, and they will give you some constructive criticism, feedback, and help in refining your proposal to have the greatest chance for success. Most of these are all on nittanyai.psu.edu/events that you see at the bottom of the slide here. And that's it. The only other thing that I will mention is that we do have a GroupMe right now that we use for communication of upcoming events, ideas, resources, inspiration, those types of things. I'd highly recommend that you join it. You can either scan the QR code that's right there, or there's a bit.ly for that too, bit.ly/NAIC Nittany Ai Challenge 2023 GroupMe. And it is an open GroupMe, so you can go in there and join it at any time. I just created it last week, so there's not much messaging in there yet, but we will start using that in the coming weeks. In addition, at Hack PSU, we will be rolling out our new Discord server. We will have a Discord with community assets, resources, inspiration, technical assistance, and all those types of things for you to use as well.